Welcome to everyone. My name is Thomas Körmendi. I'm the CEO of Elopak, a liquid carton producer, globally active in milk, juice and other products. So it's my pleasure today to talk about plastics and how we can ditch plastics to reduce our emissions. And interestingly, can you really believe it when you look at this? We are in the world every single minute adding 1 more million plastic bottles. And this is actually quite a concern. And the reason is, of course, clearly we all know the littering, marine littering everywhere really on plastics. We also hear about the microplastic possible effects on health, but it's also very much a concern from a greenhouse gas point of view. And the thing is, and what I'm going to talk about is that we cannot simply recycle our way out of this issue, because the amount of greenhouse gas being produced in producing plastics and disposing it is of a significant magnitude. And we, in the packaging industry, have to take our responsibility to reduce the amount of plastic we use. So what we are saying, and this is the conclusion really, is we must take a realistic approach on how is it that we can reduce plastic and find alternative solutions that can protect the products that the packaging solutions are packing, and also reduce it without necessarily completely eliminating it. Because the issue is that the plastics problem is getting ever bigger. According to the OECD, the plastics use will triple by 2060. So less than 20% of the plastics that is being tripled will be recycled. All the rest ends up in landfills, in nature, or being burnt. So if we then look at it from a science-based target point of view and the ambition we have in the world to reach maximum 1.5 degrees temperature increase, then we can see that according to the OECD, the plastics will amount to 15% of the emissions that are needed to be cut to get to the 1.5 degrees. So plastics has a massive impact for us to reach the targets we've been setting. And one of the United Nations Environmental Program, Sheila Agarwal Khan, also said that we all know that we cannot simply recycle our way out of the plastics crisis. We need to reduce the amount we use. And of course, reducing plastics means that we need some level of alternative to protect the content, to ensure that we can safely distribute the content without generating lots of waste. And one such solution, of course, is the use of cartons. Now, from a life cycle assessment, these life cycle assessments, as you know, are assessments where you measure the impact from the essentially from the cradle to grave of products, from the very point of manufacturing the products to the point of disposing. And there are a number of life cycle assessments all around the world which have been made really to look at the impact of plastic versus alternatives. In this case, the one on the slide you see here is a US study from 2021, which proved that a standard carton pack for milk, in this case, assuming the same amount of milk, of course, which is not the case on the slide, I know, but you would actually reduced the CO2 emissions by 60% by moving plastics into carton. Now, if you then take that carton and use an unbleached fiber, which is readily available in Europe in many, many places in the markets where we are active, you will actually have a 70+% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions. And this is not an outlier. Meanwhile, in Germany, back in 2019, the similar comparison versus glass bottles assumed more than 60% lower CO2 with cartons, and versus PET bottles, actually more than 80% less CO2 by moving out of PET into cartons. So let me take this one. Clearly, cartons also contain plastic. We all know that. That's needed for a carton to protect the integrity of the products inside. A carton pack will have a polyethylene layer of plastic, but the plastic amount used is significantly lower, of course, than the similar plastic bottle. So in our case, we will use polyethylene. We may have a plastic opening, but by moving out of plastic, even with the plastic amounts being used here, you can massively reduce the plastic use. It's also our challenge, of course, in the packaging industry as such, and certainly in the carton industry, to continue to develop our products so that we can minimize, reduce, and preferably at some point completely eliminate the use of plastics. Now, if we look at the market share, you can say already now a very significant part of liquid products in Europe are packed in various carton packs. Around 76% of milk in Europe and close to 60% of juice is currently packed in cartons. But the question is, why is it that there are so many other types of product that could easily be packed in carton and are not packed? And this could be anything from laundry products, hair care products, etc., which all are dominated by various plastic solutions. So, we actually see in our industry that this conversion from plastic to carton is well underway, and we see numerous examples. You don't need to go further than Sainsbury's here, where you see that the detergents, washing up liquid, etc., have been launched now in carton solutions. As an example here of a subscription-based solution, Small, coming out is already out in UK. Paper Den from Germany is a mouthwash, and there are many other examples. So our job, of course, in the industry is to ensure that we are adaptable, that we have the right materials, that we can actually fulfill a much wider scope of products than what historically has been the case. And I'd like just to give you an example of one existing case of this, which has been pretty amazing. Back in 2020, Orkla, which is the leading FMCG company with a wide margin in Norway, huge array of products. In a way, you could argue it's a mini Unilever, but very mini compared to Unilever. They launched their hand soap Klar in a carton solution, which they developed together with us. This became an immense success for them. It was launched on the website. It was sold out in minutes. People signed up, 1,000 people signed up on a waiting list to get their hand soap in a carton pack. Later on in 2022, Orkla then launched more products, more sizes, detergents, fabric softeners in Sweden, in Finland, and now in 23, more sizes, more products, and moving the products which were originally a refill system into a primary pack system. And what, of course, is not only did they reduce the amount of plastic, evidently, that they used, but they also improved their own efficiency. They lowered their own costs. So depending on the product, and this is actually, these are real data here, cartons can reduce up to 90% of, can reduce plastic use up to 90%, 84% higher efficiency because of the fact that they take lower space when transporting, and 94% fewer trucks to transport the same amount of goods. So the efficiencies coming out of this transitions were well beyond the greenhouse gas emissions related just to plastic, but also to all the other areas. So just a little bit of data here. So we commissioned in UK here and also in Germany a study where more than 50% of the consumers we would any day buy, would be very happy to buy a product, a laundry detergent, a fabric softener, or any of these in a carton solution. And actually, in this case, more than 1,000 people were asked. And as you can see here as well, the ones who said, I don't know, mainly said, I am not sure I want to do it because I haven't seen it in the kind of brand that I'm normally buying. The idea is that realistically, if we're going to find a solution to replace these plastic solutions, we have to have something that consumers adopt, are willing to use, and are happy to use, and it's part of our daily convenience. When we made the study, around 20% of all the consumers we interviewed said that we are currently buying some kind of refill system for some of our products when available. And we are buying these as a pre-filled refill, what we call pre-fills. So there's a pre-fill refill, meaning you buy the pre-fill pack and use it at home, versus a refill where you refill in store. And the reason why most of the consumers prefer a pre-filled refill is, of course, because it's less messy. You don't need to bring your own container. You don't need to plan your shopping. You can have a higher level of inspirational shopping, if you like. And for the ones who said that they do not want to use it, it's simply because they say, I cannot find it in the brand that I like. The good news, though, is that despite all of this turbulence we have, economic, inflationary pressures, household incomes being under pressure, the study from Deloitte that they made showed that in UK here, 64% of all consumers are actively trying to limit the amount of plastic that they use in all the ways they can do it. 64%. Moreover, that figure did not change negatively since 22, despite the tougher economic circumstances. So when we then look at it on the various product categories, and this is again a study from UK and Germany, we can see that actually more than 76%, more than 70% of consumers prefer a refill solution for their detergent. They want to reduce the waste they have, and more than 80%, in fact, for the hand soap. Out of these who do it, more than 90% will say that this is because I want to reduce plastic. I don't want plastic. I want to do whatever I can to reduce my plastic consumption. And here, a carton refill pack becomes the option of a low carbon alternative for them. And let's not forget that there is a 70% lower carbon footprint on any of these products if you move it in from out of plastics into any carton solution. So what we do see is that consumers are ready to buy refills, or what we would call pre-fills. They're ready to buy it in a whole range of different products that they're not used to originally. In the case of fabric softeners, it's more than 70%. In the case of detergents, equally more than 70%. Very, very, very strong buying intention on these products. So the question, of course, is, okay, this is all very good. Why are we not seeing a lot of products then in replacing the plastic solutions with a more sustainable, low carbon emission carton solution? And I think the point here we are making is, number one is, if we are to deliver on the sustainability targets that we have set as a world, we need to reduce the use of plastic, and that includes packaging as well, given the amount of plastic in packaging and given the impact of greenhouse gases coming out of packaging. Why are we not seeing more? Well, we are going to see a lot of FMCG companies are already on this ball, as we know. The lead times are long, there's equipment that needs to be changed, infrastructure, etc., which drive this. But the trend is very clear. Consumers want it. Consumers believe in it. It is possible. It does drive the lower carbon emissions, and pre-filled, refilled, the pre-fills represent a very, very, very exciting option, which is actually readily available as we speak. This is a way dramatically to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions, and we need to empower consumers best we can to give them more choices in the brands that they're looking for, allowing them to make the informed choices that they're clearly asking for in the research. So just when I did this very brief presentation here, we have actually produced more than, it's a mistake on the counter, more than 17 million bottles have been produced during this presentation. 17 million, only slightly less than 20% of these will be recycled. Everything else ends up in nature, landfills, or being burnt. That's why we need to change. Thank you.